Hello everybody, this is the Sequestral Cycle kubeadm office hours. Today is the 22nd of January 2020. We have quite some agenda. I'm going to share the agenda document in chat. Please add your names to the list of participants and also your potential topics that you want to be discussed. Let me share my screen. Okay. Do we have any new participants to the call? I don't see anybody new. Okay, some quick PSAs. So the cap for moving kubeadm saw a lot of discussion yesterday with SIG release. It's quite unfortunate that they were only able to review now because it's really late. Tuesday is the deadline for the caps. This is without talking about the exception process, because we also have this process where we can delay the cap and potentially, I don't know, maybe send it a couple of weeks later. But the cap pretty much has something like around 170 comments at this point. I tried to answer most questions by Team Pepper, and in fact, we booked a private meeting today to discuss some of that, because we ended up discussing way too many things that I think are orthogonal to the work that we can do on the cap. I think a major issue that they are trying to bring on the table is that any change in the release tooling is going to be problematic. So maybe we have to drop the proposal that Luca, who is on the call, proposed to pre-tag a release in the kubeadm repository, because the tagging code in the release tool of Kubernetes is really poorly designed, and maybe we are going to only use the Kubernetes release repository to release kubeadm, but not tag it. And the tagging can be done by the post-submit job that I discussed in the cap. Little details like that. And also, Team Pepper is not exactly sure whether our proposal is going to affect kubectl and tools that also move in the future. But I'm trying to explain that this is really a kubeadm proposal. If kubectl decide to do something else, they are going to have to do a separate cap in any case. So yeah, I'm going to have this meeting later. It's kind of on the private VMware Zoom, so we didn't even discuss if this is going to be public. It's going to be, I don't know, 3 hours and a half from now, so it's kind of late for Europe. Maybe we can book it to be public, but yeah, let me probably next week I can give a update on what is the state with the SIG release discussion, because blocking the cap so late is not great for us. So what do people think? Are we okay to, in general, postpone the move to 119, or what are people's thoughts?
First of all, if I can help you in any way to push the cap, let me know. I will do my best to support you. To be honest, I tried to follow all the discussion in the cap, but there are too much of them. And but if you want that I help you in the meeting, just let me know. I will do my best to attend, or don't hesitate to ask for help. So first point. Second, I will be disappointed if we are going to postpone this. But in that case, I think the discussion will be should be between SIG release and SIG architecture. Because we as a SIG, we are doing our best to get ready to the move, but we cannot do the move by ourselves.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that. Yesterday, I was asked by Sigrelis why are you giving us an ultimatum to approve this cap? And I said that we are not giving the ultimatum. The ultimatum was originally created by SIG Architecture, who told us, "Hey, please give us a timeline when kubeadm can move out." And we gave 118 as the cycle for that. And now SIG release are not ready and not happy that we are giving them ultimatum. So you're correct. This is really becoming a SIG architecture / SIG release issue. I will try to coordinate with Tim later today. It's really late for Europe. So maybe I can give you an update tomorrow, like what happened.
Okay.
Is there any way we can help SIG release to transition? I mean, I just joined the Kubernetes project in any case, so more than happy to help them if needed.
So I would definitely appreciate if we proceed with the cap, the work in the cap in 118 or 119. I already proposed that we are going to maybe staff the work that has to be done in the release tooling. And the story about the release tooling is that, let me fetch a link quickly. Okay, so in this repository right here, there is this tool called Anago. You can find it in Google. It's a big pile of bash. This is the original tool that Google created when the Kubernetes release process started. And we have to make changes in this. So what I propose to SIG releases, we are going to staff the work in this bash code that we can apply the change to build kubeadm from here. And I already looked at it. I don't think it's that complicated, to be honest. But this is something that we can help them with.
One question from my side. So I agree with what you said, Fabrizio. What I wonder is if this is a situation in which it's all or nothing, because maybe we can try to get kubeadm out of tree for 118, but release from KK. And while we test all the machinery for moving kubeadm out of tree, I mean, 118 is going to be, as always, only with the difference that we are going to be building kubeadm outside of tree, but the release happens from KK. And then from 118, maybe we can completely remove that from KK.
So there's a problem that the same tool I'm talking about builds from a single repository. So if kubeadm is in KK, we have to build the latest commit from there. Basically, if you are saying that we can work have both repositories, it means that we have to duplicate our work. We have to send PRs for both repositories.
Yeah, but it's in the intermediate. I mean, maybe it's just some middle ground, because if it's all or nothing case, maybe for SIG release is going to be harder because they are under pressure. So if they could, we could trigger this experiment without releasing from there, just triggering the experiment while we release from KK for 118, and we have everything working for 119, and then that's the moment where we actually trigger everything and we actually release from Kubernetes kubeadm. It was just an idea. Maybe we can build some middle ground.
Yes. So I don't think the cap exactly covers this at this point. It became such a mess. But somebody proposed that we can copy kubeadm to the kubeadm repository, and then continue releasing from KK. And maybe at some point in time we can switch a flag, like a feature gate. We can switch a flag or an environment variable somewhere, and we can start building kubeadm from the new place. And this is like the fallback strategy for the whole thing. We are not it's not a hard move. It's going to be working parallel experiment in the kubeadm repo, and then at some point we can flip a switch. So this is already the plan.
Maybe an issue with, like, if we diverge, it might be an issue. Like if we still have the code in KK and in kubeadm, we need a way to ensure that the code is going to be the same.
Yeah, so it's okay to experiment with old code in the kubeadm repository. We can experiment building, you know, with old code. But before flipping the switch, we have to update kubeadm to be up to date with KK. It's just, I have already thought about this. It's just that this needs approval from SIG release. They have to be okay with the whole thing because currently they have too many questions, too many concerns. Any more comments on this?
I just want to say, Lubomir, that if you need anything, please ping me. I will do my best to help wherever it's needed.
Yeah, I will ping folks if there's anything like I need a question asked like answered by this group. In general, at this point, we are entering a like political discussion of whether SIG release are okay with the move as a whole, whether they can help with PR reviews and things like that. So it's not really on this group. But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but okay, I got to the point. I think that Raphael comments make sense. So even if we don't get the final go from SIG release, I think that this cycle we have to work to make our repository ready, have our CI jobs in place and whatever. Even if the alignment of the code is manual or periodic, but I think that is doable because we control what merges in the kubeadmin repo. So this is the plan B. As a group, I think we should still go with some activity, even if SIG release blocks for their part.
Okay, yes, this makes sense. We can create a list of tasks that we can perform. We can even have the PRs for K release ready, but they can be inactive, like the code path can be blocked, disabled, and at some point we can enable it. So we can do a lot of work in 118. And if SIG release are happy, we can just flip those switches, updates, like everything, and
الكلام شوفوا
try this in production.
انت غدوه تتعاملوا مره اخرى.
Sorry, I muted someone who speaking. Okay, any more comments on this topic? Should we move on to the next one?
So I have a quick comment here, and I think that we should probably try to do things a little bit differently. We should probably try to get SIG release and SIG architecture talking. Simply because we are hitting this problem because we are the first piece of KK to be actually moving out of KK. Everybody else ended in staging and they didn't have to deal with this problem. So we are basically laying the grounds for every other piece of code that is moving out of KK. For example, kubectl and probably God knows what else. So we should probably get these two SIGs talking to each other, simply because this is not only blocking us, it's blocking kubectl and possibly others.
Yes, this makes a lot of sense. SIG architecture have no time, and SIG release also don't have any time. So
yeah, just wonder if I remember well, Deems commented on the cap and it was okay. He's from SIG architecture. Maybe we can loop Deems into this discussion.
yes, so Dims already commented yesterday on our discussion in SIG release. He said that we can proceed with whatever state the cap is and work on the PRs if something is not good. I think Dims is trying to say that the cap is a process that can be iterative, so you can add more things in the cap in the future. I think we can keep it provisional at this point. And then maybe at some point when things are in a good shape, we can change the cap to implementable. But in the meantime, we can work on the stuff. Rosti, you have a very good suggestion, but me trying to book a meeting between these six is like almost impossible. They are very busy. SIG release are on fire currently. SIG architecture are very hard to reach. So I don't think I should be trying to get them in the same meeting. But yeah, this is a problem that is going to be very true for projects in the future, like kubectl or kubelet moving out.
So I don't think that we should probably be too much proactive in trying to get them in touch. I do think that we should probably try to talk on our behalf to them and just explain that we are unable to move until they actually reach some conclusion between themselves.
Such potential discussion. So maybe SIG release, you're saying that maybe SIG release should create the proposal for projects moving out, or should it be SIG architecture?
So I think that the SIG architecture already created this, although I'm not sure that they actually put it in, like with some words somewhere. The ball is now in SIG architecture, in SIG release field, and they need to be basically preparing for such kinds of moves.
And because they don't have any time currently, this potential proposal that they have to create can block for years.
Well, it's already blocking for years.
My point is that if we create our own proposal, we can move out, and maybe at some point SIG release are going to say, hey, your tools are not correctly designed, let's redesign the release process of kubeadm. My point is that we can have this our own way of moving out, and if kubectl wants something else, I'm sure they are going to want something else, because I don't know how they're going to tag their commits. But my point is that every project moving out is going to have a different demands, and SIG release creating the same basically moving out process for everybody is probably not going to work to begin with. So I don't want to block our move for years. I want us to move as soon as possible at this point.
Yeah, I think that I'm completely fine if we actually go on our own way, as long as SIG release is not blocking us on anything there.
I'm going to try to unblock us in the following days of this week, and maybe we can merge, like I said, maybe we can merge the campus provisional first and start working, prototyping. Okay, any more comments? Should we move on? All right. Another PSA is that this is related. Danago 2 had some concurrency bugs in Bash that broke a lot of releases of different artifacts, kubectl, kubelet, kubeadm. I think this is giving a good outline of the problem. Basically, like a Debian package includes a binary that does not match the version. So the package is, like you see, it's 1.16.5, but the contents, the binary itself is a different version. So this is a massive bug, and it affected all versions. And I think maybe this is already fixed at this point, but I just wanted to mention, if you are consuming artifacts, just move to the latest as soon as possible. The kubelet started deprecating some flags. Okay, I wanted to move to this topic. So somebody created an issue that the kubelet is starting to deprecate some of its flags. We are a consumer of some of the flags, and to my biggest surprise, somebody sent a PR to deprecate the --kubeconfig flag, which is used for TOS Bootstrap and for providing certificates for client communication of the kubelet. So I think I said that I don't think this is a good idea to start deprecating these two flags immediately. Like the first ones to deprecate, so they're marking them as deprecated, but the idea of the issue is to migrate, which to me is telling me remove. And basically, I wanted to discuss here quickly, like, what is our stance on this ticket, and maybe we can quickly evaluate some of these flags. So I don't. Are we? Do you know if we are using certificate directory currently?
As far as I know, not.
So I think that this is a workgroup component standard generated issue, and I think that this is probably connected with the instance specific component config options. So as soon as Mike's cap is going to merge, kubelet is probably going to be one of the first components that are going to get an instance specific component configs. So that's my like guess here, and I think that this is also going to deprecate most of the flags that are instance specific ones.
Yeah, so I think that the right question is to ask, okay, you are going to deprecate this flag, but how the TLS bootstrap should change? Because at the end we are not deprecating the TLS bootstrap. So we want to do the TLS bootstrap. I don't care if we flags with instance specific config, with global config, but they cannot deprecate the flag without providing a solution for an existing feature. Otherwise, they're breaking the feature.
They want to add the flags as part of the config. So you have to pass -- config instead of passing -- kubelet config, bootstrap kube config, and inconfig. So we have to modify our system D files.
Yeah, and where kubeadm writes, like instead of passing these arguments, just passing the config, writing the kubelet config with these parameters inside.
Rosti, I'm not seeing any mention of the instance-specific config. While it feels related to me, I don't see the people who started sending the PRs being aware even of the cap that Mike is working on.
So I think that Savita is new to the workgroup component standard community, and probably there is some lack of synchronization there. Probably this was a well-planned issue to be filed, but after some time, at least after an issue or a PR to introduce such a config.
Yeah, so I'm going to block if people, as much as I can, I'm going to put a hold on these flags, because I don't think we should remove them right away or even deprecate them. But for the rest, I think we can do already some work in kubeadm. Somebody started working on moving all flags using a mechanic that me and Rosti reviewed. And it was a big PR. I think it had something like 70 comments, or 80. And unfortunately, the PR author, while they got this in a pretty good shape, and I think we could have used this to maybe move all our flags to the config, because as you know, kubeadm currently has some flags instead of config, while you can have config. I think the person bailed out and closed the PR because it was too much review and they gave up. And somebody has to take ownership of this again if we want to basically keep in touch in the work that is going on in the kubelet. If some of the flags have been deprecated for a very long time, if they remove them in 1.18, they're going to break us. So that is the coordination that we have to do. And I was going to ask the group if somebody wants to take over this work. This is the PR that existed before.
Let me think with this, like for this issue with Ike and the rest of the workgroup component standard, and see what their intentions are here. but I'm fine with blocking actively anything that we actually use until they provide a replacement.
Yeah. Can you please also talk about the TOS bootstrap flags?
Yeah.
Just these two flags are important, and I think maybe we can deprecate them last, or don't even deprecate them ever.
One question regarding that, maybe we can ask them to support that early in their configuration. So we have time from there, they are supporting this into the kubelet configuration until they start deprecating it. So if they implement this, the earliest things into the config, and they deprecate this afterwards, maybe we have time to do the change and to test the change.
I think the PR that sent the deprecation for the kubeconfig flag basically moved the flag as a value in the config. So it's in the same PR.
Yeah, so what I'm suggesting, maybe we can ask them if they can support that on the configuration file, but not remove the flag yet, or not mark it as deprecated yet, to do that afterwards. I don't know if
I see. Well, that's one option, I guess. From my standpoint, it makes sense for the flag to override the config. Like that's the normal way of doing things. I don't know, Rosti, if you want, you can basically discuss this thing with them. I will try to also join the meeting next week.
Okay, sure will.
And I have one more question regarding this, sorry. So during the upgrade, is it expected that kubeadm will migrate this if we ever remove the flags from the kubelet?
I don't think we have a way to migrate this, because if there is a change in the systemd files, the systemd file is no longer going to be valid if you restart the kubelet, right? If you restart the kubelet, the flags are going to cause errors.
Yeah, I need to revisit the code and see how we should proceed with this.
Okay. Let's move to the next one. This is a tricky topic. We have been discussing this for over a year already, I think, but it's just not actionable. Improvements to concurrent etcd join support. So somebody from VMware created a ticket. They have basically a testing bed where they're testing a pretty big cluster with etcd, HA, things like that. But they're testing it on like a fairly old version. So we had a big discussion here, and apparently we ended up with some solutions. Like Fabrizio proposed a way to prevent the actual problem, which I forgot to mention, is that there's basically the concurrent join of etcd does not work. Members, if they join at the same time, two members can end up with without names, and the kubeadm code is going to fail adding the names to the members. And Fabrizio proposed a solution, and then I did some testing. I also proposed an iteration of his solution to fix the problem. And then Fabrizio and the others again came back and proposed yet another iteration of my proposal. So we are trying to create the best fix possible. But the big question here is that we can fix this in master, but should we barkbot stuff like that all the way back to 1.15 in terms of the whole support skill? What do people think?
If it is considered as a critical bug, I would say sure, but like given the nature of this, like people are not hitting it that frequently, and also depending on the shape of the changes between the releases. I'm not sure if we want to do that, but I'll defer to Fabrizio.
So the change is small. It is the change set that you see now. So it is not a big change to backport, but it's touching a critical part of kubeadmin. So I'm debated if backporting till 1.15. I think that we have to be cautious, so we have to deploy to master, see that everything works, possibly to set up a parallel join test that now we don't have, and then backport. But I have to think about this. So, and now currently we are not able to reproduce it for two reasons. First reason is that we use Kinder for test, and Kinder does not support parallel join. And second is that even if we implement the parallel join with Kinder, I'm not sure we can reach the same corner case, because it is really random. So it really depends by the different etcd member what time they keep to start. So it is really not deterministic to reproduce the program. So I'm not opposed to backport it, but I prefer to I would like to be a little to put us in this in a safe path. So maybe defer to discuss with team and see. But for the time being, for the moment, I just want to change in master and see if this does not create a regression. This is the starting point. And second, I think that while investigating this topic, basically Lubomir find out that in the etcd documentation, it is clearly written that concurrent join of etcd member is not supported. So yes, it's not supported, and also the learner mode that they are implementing is not help for concurrent join, because basically they support one learner at a time. So according with this information, I think that as a kubeadmin, which where we are consumer of etcd, what we can do is to try to implement workarounds like this one, but I think that we should state clearly somewhere that we are not supporting concurrent join of etcd member, because it is not supported by etcd. So from one side, I would like to get the workaround in place and to try to help the user. From the other side, I would like to be fair and clearly communicate that kubeadmin cannot fix etcd problems or limitation.
Comments by others?
So my only comment here is that I totally agree with what Fabrizio said.
I also agree. We're not here to fix etcd stuff.
Okay, my proposal as well, Fabrizio, well said. I completely agree as well. I think that we should not backport to any version without having end-to-end test signal, and we should tell our folks downstream that they have to maintain this patch if they want to avoid this very, very rare bug.
Okay, and last point that I think that we should make clear is that the problem only apply for the concurrent join of masters, and that means that you do init, and init is already a separate step. Then you want to do the concurrent join of the two additional master for an HA cluster. So it is not a big impact for the user, because the parallel join of worker is supported. It only applies to the problem of parallelism. It only applies to the 2 additional control plane nodes. And by the way, the 2 additional control plane node can join sequentially while worker node are joining. So it is not blocking or adding delay to the creation of cluster. Too much delay to the creation of cluster.
But technically, the same problem can happen if people were using external HCD.
Yes.
So that's very interesting, because we are using external HCD. We are doing parallel join. We actually not even do the process I Fabrizio described, but we just run the inits in all 3 masters at the same time, and we have the join configuration in the kubeadm config. So it's one step to join them all. And I've created at least 10 clusters in the last week and never had this problem. And we're using 115. So I think it's a very, very, very edge case that is happening here.
Yes, the problem is that HCD is a very fast-moving project, and we don't know if at some point somebody is going to add some little logic somewhere that is going to change this behavior to occur more frequently. So
yeah,
we don't have any guarantees for that.
On the other side, oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, so I just wanted to add that Fabrizio, you're right on the fact that you probably don't have a lot of time on the setup of the cluster. But from the other side, I mean, my setup right now doesn't require any coordination of the master nodes. What you're proposing requires some coordination, meaning that you will have to start a node, and then the other nodes will have to join sequentially. That, from a standpoint of an infrastructure that starts up and configuring itself, it requires some external coordinator. That's something we don't have in my setup right now. I'm not saying that that is a bad thing. I'm just describing my use case.
No, I got your point. I understand your point. But if those are the etcd specification, I don't think. I think that we have to stick to them. Then we can discuss if, as a kubeadmin, we can embed this sequence in the kubeadmin join process or not.
Yeah, sorry, I just forgot to say that I agree with everything you said before, right? So I'm not disagreeing with you in general. I was just describing these.
No, but I understand and I appreciate the point of view. So
I'm looking for if we have a warning already in our HA setup docs to say that concurrent join is not recommended. I guess, should we add this?
If you do that, I would like to have the problem well described, saying that it's a really edge case and maybe pointing to the issue or something like that, so it's clear that it's not, to avoid discouraging everyone to use that approach. Because again, I'm not seeing this problem happening, and I've created a lot of clusters. I don't know.
At some point I left my machine to create and destroy clusters, and maybe it created 100 clusters or so. And also the folks from VMware, I think they say that this is 1 in 1,000. So what we can link from our docs, we can link to the HCD docs that say that you should add a new member only after the previous member is healthy, which is, implying sequential join. This is clearly stated in the HCD docs, so maybe we should add a very, how do I say this? We can have a very light warning in our docs that say, hey, the official HCD docs recommend this. So you are on your own if you want to join concurrently.
Yeah, in our documentation, we have explicitly saying that you can join multiple control planes in parallel since 1.15. So we should change that note. I posted the link. Yeah.
Okay. I think we should change this to a warning. maybe keep it as a note. We can say since 1:15 you can do this, but please note that etcd docs saying otherwise. I'm looking for an answer if I should be sending the PR for this.
Yeah, we have to state it, this warning properly, but I agree that we have to warn the user that this can happen.
+1.
All right, I'm going to set the PR for this. I'm going to add a to-do for me later. Okay, no, we are saying no on the cherry picks for now at least.
Let's see how it works on master. I don't think the PR already merged on master. So the change is only discussed in the issue, but there is no PR yet. Right, Lubomir?
Yes, I'm going to set the PR and I'm going to give the response downstream.
Okay, let's get the PR in master and let's wait. Let's check if there is no regression, and then maybe we sync with team about backporting, because touching the TCD part is always something.
Yes. All right. Let's proceed to the next topic. This is something that Rosti saw. We backported some validation fixes for 116, 117, but we forgot 115. The validation is related to IPv6 in our HTTP check in the kubeadm preflight. And the question for the group is, are we okay with backporting this fix to 115? It's only the validation. My personal vote is -1. People can just skip a pre-flight check.
If there is a workaround, I -1 as well.
So I'm okay with -1. My only motivation for backporting this was because the user in question was actually mistaken that kubeadm does not support IPv6, and basically he was looking at this warning and basically stating that the join failed because of it, and probably just fixing the check was much more easier than having to answer this to every user.
Yeah, so 115 is going to be out of support in a couple of months. I think they should move on or like simply skip the check at this point. Rossi, are you okay with closing the PR?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Let me find it again. Okay, I forgot to mention in the PSAs that I did some issue triage during the weekend, and I went over all tickets in the kubeadm repository, and I closed some long-standing tickets such as, let me see what I closed because I forgot some of the names of the tickets exactly. Recently updated. Like I closed this one, enabled the root CA certificate publisher controller. It's still alpha, it's not clear. Graduate bootstrap tokens to GA. We are like unofficially graduating tokens to GA because they are essentially a secret that has been GA for a long time. Our tools are not going to graduate to anything because we are going to keep our tools and custom structures inside the kubeadm repository / code base. Bootstrap tokens officially are now like GA. Simplify kubeadm minimum Kubernetes. I close this one because it's we already have this. We can only improve at this point automation of the version based on Git tags, for instance. CS side compliance, I close this because I don't see anything actionable on our side. If somebody wants to, provide more detail on CIS compliance, they should state all the details. This was just a ticket. Hey, please provide CIS compliance. I closed this one. It had a lot of discussion, like document kubeadm usage with CA Linux. This is, I closed this because I was thinking like what rationale I should create here. And I think I did pretty well. My point is that
is it older than kubeadmin, this issue?
Older than kubeadmin.
Yes, it is at least 2 years old, 3 years.
Yeah, it's as old as I don't know. It's 2017 May was opened. Basically, my main rationale here is that security context is a feature that is not maintained by kubeadm, C cluster lifecycle. It's SIG-out and also related to SIG-node objects. Also, this is end-to-end tested and documented in other places, and I don't think we have anything actionable here. So, yeah, I think I closed it for a good reason. But we have 12 minutes. I wanted to do some issue triage. Anybody have any intermediate topics? Marek, I think you have a topic.
We kind of talked about this because I did the refactoring and I went over the PR with Rafa, and I have a few cleanup items, but then I didn't know when we were going to move kubeadm out of tree, and so I didn't know if I should just wait or do it, but I'm guessing I should go ahead and just make the PR and push forward with that in the interim.
As long as the code base is the same, if you go on any PR, so you can create a PR for KK, you can pretty much push the same PR to the same repository as long as the source code is the same. So if we move the code, you can just apply the same patch to the new code base. So the PR is going to work there as well.
It was just all of our comments and stuff. So like if we started discussing it this week on KK and then move next week.
I mean, you can cross-reference. If some of the comments are lost, you can cross-reference them from one PR to another. This is unfortunate. There's no other way to migrate.
I think that for now we should file PR only in KK, and then we should communicate when the switch and decide out what to do with pending PR. So I think for now I won't ask people to maintain 2 PRs, since we don't know that the K kubeadmin copy is going to be the official one.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and open it in KK and
if possible, break it down in smaller PR. But
so I'm going to. I talked to Rafa a bit about this. I'm going to make it into 3 PRs, I think, but they're in a way where it's like you have this one and then this one and then this one. So what I think it's going to be is that each PR is going to be a commit, and so this PR will have all 3 commits in it, and each one will reference each other, I think, because they kind of build off of each other.
Yeah, but in this way we start reviewing the first one, closing the first one, and then you have to rebase. So for me it makes sense.
Okay.
Fabrizio, you have a KEP?
Or really quickly, we discussed last week to upgrade the cap about removal of cluster cattle, adding a note that cluster status is following the beta deprecation policy. So I added this node, completed addresses some other pending comments. So please take a look and possibly LGTM.
Yes, my last comment, I'm not sure you saw this, is that basically Rosti made a comment here that we are cleaning up cluster status. From our previous discussion, we discussed that we are going to keep cluster status in a parallel for a while. Did you add this into the KIP?
No, I don't. Sorry, I missed this one, but it is not possible because basically the annotation are in line with the pods, and the annotation are maintained by and pods are maintained by the kubelet. But we cannot force the kubelet to upgrade the cluster status. And the goal of this PR is to move away from cluster status because there is no way to keep it aligned with the truth. So it is not possible to keep cluster status aligned with the annotation. I will comment, but
so we discussed something else last week about this. We discussed that we can have cluster status updated on a best effort to not break the users with a hard switch.
Yeah, and this is what I have added. So I'm keeping cluster status managed as it is today, but we know that this can lag, can go out of sync from the reality.
Okay, in that case, the PRs for KK have to have action required.
And I also added a note that we are sending an action required.
So let me summarize again. Cluster status will still have the IPs of the members, but after upgrade, we cannot guarantee that these IPs are going to be valid.
No, we cannot upgrade. Also now we have IP, but basically if a node gets deleted for any reason, okay, in a bad way, so without doing min reset, cluster status gets out of sync. Okay, and this is independent by upgrade. Okay, and this will remain the same problem also until deprecation, and the same limit of cluster status until deprecation. Okay, while the new approach that uses the annotation basically will follow what kubelet is going to observe. But I can comment on the issue on Ross issue. So
maybe
let's move the discussion on the cap.
Okay, I think I understand what you're talking about. So this is, I don't think it's a problem, but we are, for a reset, we are still going to continue removing members for a while from status.
Exactly.
Okay, I think I'm fine with that. By the way, Fabrizio, I think you have approval access to caps. I mentioned this.
Yeah, but it is not fair to approve my own cap. So
yes. Okay. So does it have a proof label? It has a proof label. It's on hold. I'm going to add the LGTM. If anybody has comments, please add them. Otherwise, we can remove the hold maybe tomorrow, or the deadline for caps is Tuesday next week.
I'm +1 on this one.
Okay, Rossi, do you have any comments?
So I haven't had a look at the latest iteration of it, or if it was actually updated, but I do think that we should probably like keep this in a best effort, But I'm also okay with just removing it simply because it's an internal type, so we can basically just add an action required.
We are keeping it at best effort, so I'm not deleting any code.
Okay, I think that I'm pretty much okay with that.
Fabrizio, if I can help you there, please ping me. I can help on that.
Thank you, Rafa. I will try to figure out what are the action items, and then I will ping you.
I have the task pretty clear, so there is no need to degrade that if you want. So maybe we can talk offline about that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
How much time do we have? 3 minutes. We can continue with the issue triage next week. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
See you. Bye.